mentioned in our open ceremony, Black August was created by the brothers in prison who were dealing with overt racism. And basically, the type of struggle that we're dealing with right now, just imagine it being coming from a prisoner's standpoint. During the time, there was no social media. During the time, there was not a great deal of advocacy. During the time that, prisons was so good old boy network formed, it was hard to even, have them be held accountable for anything that they did. So this is the type of struggle that they were doing. If you can imagine a Jim Crow law or a Jim Crow situation on steroids. That's what the situation was in prison. So, however, you had these brothers that came together and they formed pretty much a group of freedom fighters because it came to the point that they were so fed up with the conditions and with no way to have their situations redressed, the inhumanity that was going on there, the cruel and unusual punishment. They decide to form a resistance group. And in forming this resistance group, they stood up to be able to get basically the foot of oppression off of them. But these are the brothers that formed Black August. This is what Black August represents. It stands for those particular brothers that existed at that particular time who formed that particular group. We have George Jackson, W.L. Nolan, William Christmas, Katari Galwin. This is just to name a few because the name of so many time does not permit for me to do so. But Black August basically consists of 4 days. And the 4 days are August 1st, August 7th, August 21st, August 1st, August 7th, August 13th, and August 21st. These brothers came up with the ideal way to commemorate these particular brothers. In doing their research, they had found out that Black August was significant for a number of rebellions that occurred since blacks came over here from Africa, since they were enslaved over here. It was not only them, but in all parts of the world. We're talking about Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, Sojourner Truth did her thing in August, Harriet Tubman, Toussaint Louverture over in Haiti, I can't remember the one that's over in Ghana, but anyway, not only that, the uprising of slavery, but also the fight of colonialism against colonialism too as well. A lot of significant events, the uprising events, and we can say the violent events. We're just going to be truthful here. They occurred in the months of August. So Black August expanded since that day, but however, specifically, it was created by them brothers to address the brothers that stood up, against oppression in prison and was able to fight it off. A lot of the things that the brothers have in prison right now, whether it be TVs, access to libraries, access to what little privileges that they do have, they got it from these brothers right here. These brothers are the one that paved the way. They're the one that made the sacrifices for that. But now, in particular, today is Jonathan Jackson Day. And Jonathan Jackson was the younger brother of George Jackson. While George was in prison, George became aware of his situation. He became aware of the situation that blacks were in and oppressed people were in America under a capitalist system. And he began to educate himself under it. He began to educate himself about it. And while doing so, he did so on two paradigms. He took the paradigms from the prison, and he took the paradigms that was from outside the prison in the free world, and he looked at them both, and he applied the scenarios that applied. He applied the science to both scenarios, and as it turned out, he said there was no difference. The things that were occurring in prison was the direct result of the things that were occurring in the free world, was the direct result of being under a corrupt government. Bottom line, there's no two ways about it. So he began to educate himself. He began to embrace the teachings of Mao Zedong, Lenin, Karl Marx, and different ones. Not only that, the Machiavelli, different ones who had dealt with different situations throughout the world, who had been in a position that had defined this capitalist system for what it was. And he began to study their teachings. And he began to apply it, not from the way that they applied it, because despite the fact, the similarities in situation, it was an entirely different stage. Then people, despite, me being revolutionary and thinking, they had not had the history of dealing with chattel slavery. So it was that part that they would never relate to. So on that, he took from them and then applied it, extracted the good things from them and applied it to a scenario that he felt that would work for us to be able to stand up and deal with this beast. So, and anyway, that's who George Jackson was. Jonathan Jackson was his brother. Now we were talking about prison being Jim Crow on steroids. I guess you can say, some would, but me cringe at me saying this. Jonathan Jackson was George on steroids. Not from an intellectual standpoint, when George was the top that you can get. So Jonathan Jackson, he was another level up, George as far as his push. And on a particular incident happening in San Quentin, right? Where they had accused a particular group of brothers of murdering a cop, and they said they did so in retaliation. And they said the brothers did so in retaliation of the cops murdering another particular brother. So they had these brothers on trial. Jonathan Jackson was a revolutionary. He believed in action. He didn't believe in a lot of talk. He believed that, if you said that you were about something, you needed to be about it, and you need to show the people that's what you were about. So he came up with this plan. Some, in hindsight, they said it was irrational, they'll say it's irrational, but, who can say that, that's Monday quarterback, and nobody can say all the things when you're on the field. So he came up with a plan to be able to free the brothers from the Marin County Courthouse on the day that they were to go to trial. And so basically what he did was stormtroop the courthouse and kidnap the judge and the stenographer and various people to get them brothers out. They made it outside the courthouse. But the one thing Jonathan Jackson did not understand, that this beast that he's dealing with, he's not a monster for nothing. He's going to deal with a monster. It pains to say that the attempt was, while courageous, it wasn't successful because he killed up everybody in there, including the judge. But that's how they function. They're not going to allow nobody to stand against them or show, or show something that's being effective like that. But so that's pretty much, for the gist of it, that's what we're here about today. Seeing and learning about Black August. This is August 7th. This is Jonathan Jackson's Day. And like I said, August 7th consists of 4 days, mainly of 4 days. That's how it started with 4 days. So actually the entire month, all 31 days, with the last day being a feast. But this particular day is dedicated to Jonathan Jackson. And for the most part, that's one of the things we'll be discussing. And another thing we'll be discussing too as well, as far as the remembering our elders, because we left a lot of people that was in prison, not only from them in prison, but remembering the elders altogether, but specifically them particular elders, because we tend to forget about people in prison altogether. So you can imagine, we forget about old people out here in the free world. Imagine what an older person would be like, behind bars or something like that. So that's pretty much I have to say.
Yeah, July 17th, we took place in front of the Folsom Cordova District Office to demand that racist practices deeply rooted in the district are addressed, terminated, and replaced with more equitable methods. From the incomplete and inaccurate and skewed curriculums to the subjugation and biased mistreatment of Black youth. Ultimately, our goal is the complete liberation of the African diaspora globally. The keys to Black liberation is education, organization, and application. With that being said, decolonizing our minds is a vital starting point. However, our education system, as well as every other institution, this corporation exists to oppress Black people. While recognizing reforms are minor and temporary changes, we're hoping that these reforms can serve as a starting point for drastic growth in the amount of youth proactive in the struggle following the steps of all those who came before us. Racism in particular is extremely rampant in Folsom Cordova School District. I've had several experiences with it from educators, parents, students, and everyone in between throughout my high school career. From students and educators using racial slurs and microaggressions to students and educators minimizing and aiding the erasure of Black lives and how its capitalist society functions off the trafficking of Black bodies. So I'm currently working with another organization called Gen Up FCSD. It's a group of young activists still in high school. I just graduated, so I'm working with current students. And we have a list of demands. The first demand is the immediate removal of SROs on our FCSD campuses. And we also want to replace the SROs with a hall monitor program to reinforce that sense of community on our campuses. We want to reallocate the funds from our SRO contract and directly invest into the students and their well-being, such as mental health resources and more services on our campuses. We want to implement mandatory training for teachers and staff in regards to, but not limited to, race, implicit bias, and cultural sensitivity. These programs are going to be created by community members and members of the schools of marginalized groups. Also, we want to require all FCSD board members to make a public pledge to reject campaign contributions from police unions and law enforcement as a stance against institutional racism. We also want FCSD to address the vast proportionality in relation to the graduation and suspension rates pertaining to the social, economically challenged, and students of marginalized groups. And lastly, and I think one of the most important things we want is the district to reform the curriculum to address racism in its actuality. Our history books have so many holes in it. I feel like it is completely a power move to omit parts of our history, because if students don't know their history, they're not able to make informed decisions on how to create a better future. And also, one of our main focuses is the removal of SROs. So with this being said, a lot of things have been in question as far as student safety. There are already community programs that promote safety and mental health awareness and that kind of thing. We have hall monitors on campus already, campus security, and they have done an amazing job at de-escalating situations, and they're not the ones arresting kids on campus. I just want to highlight that cops do not prevent violence, they perpetuate it towards our Black students. So it is completely biased to have them on our campus. We already know which group of students that they're targeting and they're looking for. Me and my group recently had a meeting with our district, and they completely filibustered the entire time while we were addressing our demands. We had a long list of statistics addressing the disproportionality in suspension rates and referrals to law enforcement. And they completely were like, yeah, we appreciate your concern, we'd like to hear from students, but we're not gonna make it happen. We were only reassured by one board member that he was for the removal of SROs, but that was only on a financial basis, not because SROs perpetuate violence towards Black students and open up the gate to the school-to-prison pipeline. There's been too many incidents of racism on our campuses for it to go unnoticed, and unfortunately racism and FCSD are damn near synonymous at this point. There's too many events that have happened in regards to race that people have not been held accountable for, and it creates an unwelcome environment for all students regardless of the demographics. And if the district does not put their foot down, this is the kind of image that they're portraying. Racism is okay as long as you're white, and if you're Black, just be quiet. As soon as someone says anything, it's a blanket statement, oh, we don't tolerate racism, but no sense of accountability behind that statement.
Cool. Aya? Lockdown, the little 7/8 tune. So this next tune we're gonna play is a tune that's gonna be coming off of my album once everything gets finished. This one's called Lockdown. It's supposed to represent the whole pandemic that we're going through right now. I wrote this song because this is pretty much how I felt when this whole stuff started. You know, I had gigs lined up. We all had gigs lined up, and they got canceled. So now this is like kind of a song for us to purge on. So let's just kill it. Have fun with that shit.
Kill it.
Kill it. Go ahead, Mr. Bassman.
Do you know who Freddie Hubbard is? Okay.
Yes, sir.
James Boyd. Don't get that.